think we will see if it's loud enough. If not, we will wink at us.
Okay.
Okay. Until then, nice to be here.
It's good to be here.
Yeah. It wasn't a work for how long now? Like 4 years, 5 years? Have you tried to get you over here?
I recall you were asking a couple of times, and so it was, you know, it was timing and everything else. So very happy to be here. It's really lovely. You know, on our drive-in, going. This is a storybook part of the country. It's very, very pretty. Thank you, Gunnar, for your hospitality and for your driving excellence. You got me here in one piece.
I'll do my best to get you back in one piece too.
I appreciate that too.
Yeah, sure. So let me start with a question that I like to ask the people I get here. What's it like being Anthony Longis? It's awesome!
We have our ups and downs, but mostly it's mostly it's a good life. I chose a life in show business a very long time ago. But I started in 1973 at the Old Globe Theater in San Diego doing Shakespeare. And
could you still do Shakespeare now? Like doing it good? Something?
Thus do I would make my fool my purse. When I am at own game knowledge to profane, I would time expend with such a snipe for my sport and profit, and that's my telephone. That's actually the music from a Western film that I wrote and directed and starred in. Sometimes you got to make your own projects. That we shot up at our ranch, Rancho Lindalo. It's called Blood Trail. Anyway, I started in 1973 at the Old Globe doing Shakespeare, and that's when I started getting paid, which to me is the definition of a professional. You get paid. Usually not very much. Everyone comes and goes, oh, well, we would so love to have you, but we have no money. And I now get to say my wife, that's my wife, Dr. Mary. She's the brains of the outfit. I'm the circus she ran off to join. That's what we like to say. But I say my wife doesn't let me work for free. So that helps now. I still tell projects, I will save you more money than you'll ever pay me. And there's something wrong with that, but at the same time, I love the work. The work is the most challenging and rewarding thing. It's still both the easiest and the hardest thing I've ever done because it demands your best always, at least. That's how I view it. The business is a pain in the butt, because your skill and your hard work and there are no guarantees. You can be the best person for the role, and that doesn't mean you're going to get it. And so that's one of the reasons why I do so many things. In front of the camera, I'm an actor. Behind the camera, I'm a voiceover artist. Voiceover these days helps keep my acting chops sharp, which I really enjoy. And then I'm a fight coordinator. I'm a weapons expert. I've been studying bladed weapons for over 45 years and counting. I started with the European weapons. Saber was my first martial art with an amazing man called Maestro Ralph Faulkner. He was the sword master to the stars back in the day. He did the Court Jester, and he did Sinbad, and he dates all the way back to the original Prisoner of Zenda, where you see him, he doubles Ronald Coleman. He trained Ronald Coleman and Doug Fairbanks Jr., and he also plays the guy who goes down the hole. I don't know if you know he's one of the guardsmen. But playing both characters, there are times when he's actually fencing himself, which is, but he set the bar very high. First great teacher, my second great teacher was, then I went on to Taekwondo, and then I heard about Dan Inosanto, who I studied with for also over a dozen years. And now I'm doing Shinkendo under Kaiso Toshishiro Obata. arguably the greatest living samurai swordsman in the world. And I like to keep studying because knowledge gives you choices, and your art is in your choices. So, and I find that the arts connect. There are those of you who I hope will come and take my excuse me little workshop. We're going to play around a little bit and do fighting for film. Everything we do though is going to be based on a martial truth. The only difference is we tell the truth with everything except contact. I'm an expert at not hitting people. I never hit anybody by accident, but it means you can hit somebody anytime you want to. So you have to exercise restraint. But anyway, it gives me choices, and it allows me to make a weapon of opportunity out of pretty much anything.
Do it!
Oh, rabble rouser. I'm sorry, this just made me think of aliens, but you literally can, and he gets to be one of my favorite actors is Jackie Chan, and he's about the only performer I know that doesn't really need a script, or at least makes you think that. Anytime he walks into a scene, you go, when's he going to make a weapon out of it? So anyway, it gives you choices. And I have kind of a little mantra that I live by these days, especially now that I'm a little older. If I'm not getting better, I'm just getting older, and there's only one of those things I can do anything about. So I like to keep studying. It gives me a good reason to get up in the morning.
So you mentioned...
And my wife gives me a good reason to stay in bed in the morning.
You mentioned weapons. You can improvise with weapons, but you started studying with blades, and that reminds me of something you did in the late 80s. How did you get the role? Do you remember?
You'll have to be more specific. The late 80s covers a lot of ground.
We were talking about this guy.
I don't know. I'm not sure what you mean. I mean this guy?
I mean this guy, yes.
That's a pretty good likeness.
That sort of lady-looking guy who is like who wields two blades and.
Okay, I'll stop playing dumb. I don't have to play dumb. I live dumb. I actually had an agent who actually got me an opportunity. It's funny, I get most of my own work, which is, a little discouraging sometimes. But anyway, I had the opportunity to go in and read, and apparently he liked what I was doing. And I came with a lot of skills, which I managed to convince him that I could both handle creating a character and also bring with it a lot of skills so that he wouldn't have to double me. Which there was a time when people actually valued that, so it was kind of a magical combination. And then the biggest decision I was faced with was, did I want to go with a bald cap, which probably wasn't going to work, and I'd be in the chair for 2 hours every day, or did I want to shave my head, and then I could be in and out of makeup in about 20 minutes. So I shaved my head for the first time, kind of going, it'll grow back, right? It's hair, it grows while you sleep. So I wasn't very knowledgeable about the He-Man universe. I didn't have the opportunity to be exposed to how magical I know, so many of you find it. I've since discovered a lot of, both the charm and the heart of the Eternian universe and the characters that are in it. But at the time, I was given the chance to create a role that didn't exist. There was no character in the book or in the cartoons or in the comics. It was a lot of fun and a great honor. So I feel very privileged to have had a chance to bring something new to something that was so very established to so many. It's actually very popular around the world. Is this a good cue? Can I take over and?
Very good cue.
I've been very lucky to. I've created roles, and both as an actor and then also I often come in as a weapons expert or fight coordinator in 13 countries on 5 continents. And everywhere we go, Eternia and He-Man, surprisingly sometimes pops up. And we were in Australia, and I will let my wife tell this story because she tells it better than I do.
So we, come up, okay. I'm just
Give her a hand. Come on.
You put your hand where it shouldn't be longer in public. We went to Australia to do a convention for another TV series called Highlander that he did a couple episodes on. And while we were there, we went to a cattle station. We were going to ride horses. And
I've
we
ridden
were
horses in 11 countries on 5 continents.
Yeah.
Too. That was my dream.
That's the dream. So we go to this cattle station, and it's just the 2 of us. It's a huge place with a big lodge for dinners. Because they host like meals for 100 people. There's 2 of us. And this middle-aged couple, the middle-aged couple and their son that was probably around 12. This is 2000. And the guy asks us,
Just about his age.
yeah. So the guy he goes, you've been in movies, what have you done? So he starts to explain Highlander, and the guy's like, doesn't know.
Roadhouse.
Yeah. And then he says, Masters of the Universe. And he goes, no. Who were you? He goes, I was Blade. No, that wasn't you. Yes, I was Blade. Yeah, and he's still, no, that's not it. And he says, no, my children, my older children, loved that movie. They loved He-Man. They had all the action figures. And they played with them. But of course, as sometimes happens with a couple, they have 2 children, and then there is a gap, and then an accident comes along. And so they have this younger son who is 10 years younger than the other child. And so the elders get grown up, and they go to school, and they give their younger brother the VHS copy. That's how old. And all the toys. And they live in this isolated community, and this young boy knows He-Man, and he knows Masters of the Universe, and he knows the toys. And he plays with them. So we meet the young boy, but he doesn't know anything yet. And Anthony gives him a whip lesson.
There was a whip on the wall.
There was a whip on the wall, and he took it off.
So
You gotta know how to use a whip.
Find those sort of things.
So this young man gets his first whip lesson, and he thinks he's really good. But we hear him cracking outside, and we go out, and he has his mother holding a tea towel, and he's going to hit it. We're like, no. You do not work with people until you know you're good enough.
Well, practice a bit, right?
So he got another strong lesson from Anthony and went on his way. That night, we pulled out a picture with Blade and pictures from Masters of the Universe, and he signed it for him. Gave it to his father, and his father took it to his son that night. The next day, before we left, knock on the door. Little boy. Door opens. He looks and smiles. And Anthony goes, are you okay? You got the picture? And he's holding it. He's going to take it to school for show and tell. He's like, now remember what I told you about the whip? Don't work with people until you know you're good. It was a pleasure to meet you. That child said nothing, but his face said everything. Because when a character touches your heart, it stays with you forever. And that's why you're here.
Someone help her down.
Oh, I got good knees.
Somebody help me now.
Another kiss.
Yeah. Later. We're gonna need more.
I have more.
But there's one thing we have enough. Okay, you were saying you had the chance to create Blade. How much Anthony de Longis is in Blade? How much effort did you put into the character? How much did anybody else provide for the character?
Well, it's pretty much all me. I've been asked before, how much did Gary direct? Gary Goddard, the director, and well, I've been in the business long enough at that point to go. If you're expecting an attaboy, a pat on the back, and wow, that was wonderful, you're in the wrong business, because the director especially, he has a lot to do. And I found out later, those of you who know the story of making the movie Masters of the Universe, it was something that was fraught with a lot of difficulties, not nearly enough money, that tried to dry up on more than one occasion, to the point where the crew hadn't been paid, and Gary's promised them that you'll be paid by the end of the day. We're all here. Come on, let's go to work, and they did, and our producer at the time managed to scrounge enough money to pay the crew, and I'd like to say that's the only movie that's ever happened to me on, but it's not. It was just one of the first. But Gary pretty much left me alone. We would be in a situation, or we'd be in a scene, and I would do something, and usually when you hear from a director is if they don't like what you're doing, or they want you to try something else. Sometimes they're very politic and they kind of go, oh, okay, well, we got that one. Let's try this now. Some directors kind of go, really, you're gonna do it like that? But Gary wasn't that guy. So I figured I'd just keep going and do what I thought felt right, and was as big as I thought I needed to be. And Gary seemed to like it because he never said, "God, all right, Jesus Christmas, look, what the hell was that?" He never did that. So I felt pretty good about what I was doing. I liked the role. There was a lot of things I could identify with, and Frank was a terrific guy to work with, and Meg Foster was wonderful, and I'd actually worked with Billy Barty in a couple of stage productions before, so it was fun to see him and Dolph. Dolph realized when I first met him, the coordinator had asked me. He said, "You know more about swords than I do. You train him." Actually, he had a very famous stuntman there. Lauren James was his name. He used to double Steve McQueen. And Lauren, I worked with Lauren. One of my favorite TV roles was in MacGyver. Some of you will remember I was the master of disguise. I was Piedra the assassin. I was strutting my stuff at the time, so I did like 4 or 5 accents. And then at the end, I'm in disguise, so, and I had fake scars that had curare needles and things like that. And at the end, I'm in disguise, and he's going down, and I'm in a nun's outfit, so I become the kicking nun, which was a whole lot of fun. But so yeah, that was I enjoyed that role. Did I answer your question? Oh, so yeah, it was just I was having a grand time, and Gary seemed to approve and liked what I was doing. I had a terrific team to work with, and every day at work was a lot of fun. The hardest part was the wardrobe. I understand that some of it's here, so I'm looking forward to seeing it again, I think. I remember when we first did a fitting, I was in, from the neck down, surgical rubber. I felt very safe. But and so was anybody else too. But I was in surgical rubber, and then they had me in gauntlets, and they had me in boots, and then they were coming up with this, chainmail, and then over the chainmail would go, the chest piece and the stuff. And Fortunately, I got him to get rid of the arms so that I could breathe, and the fact that I really didn't have anything on my head other than this, which, but it was,
like just a bit more different if I had an eye patch.
Oh,
Did
yeah,
you wear some?
I'll come back to that.
Oh, all
But
right.
they actually, someone had mentioned, because they had a very nice picture. I just spent some time with a couple of very lovely fans, Roland and Mark and his family. Unfortunately, they had to take off, so I wanted to find a little time with them before they left. But he had a picture which reminded me about the eye patch. I'll come back to the eye patch in just a second. But the wardrobe was so user unfriendly. I actually had the costume assistant write me a letter and say, "I'm worried about you. I've never had a costume that was this, going to be this difficult for a performer." Because I was in surgical rubber, and then the chainmail, because nowadays there's a lot of chainmail and there's a lot of call for it. That was a period where there wasn't a lot of this. So my chainmail was pipe. It was lead pipe, steel pipe, that was cut into 1/4-inch pieces, and I was told it was about 50 feet of pipe. So it was, they then trimmed up so that I looked sexy when I walked and stuff. But it was 42 feet of pipe. I don't know. It was a lot of pipe. No, I'm not going to go there. And so anyway, it was very, very heavy. And they would put that on, and then they would put the thing over the top, and I'm going, okay, well, I'm not doing any shoulder rolls in this thing because, I would have killed myself. And then we'd get the rest of it on. But I would, at lunchtime, I would try to, anytime I knew we had a bit of a break, they'd take off layers, but I still, had the stuff, and, I would peel it down, but throw a robe on. But at the end of the day, I would take my boots, and I would pour them out, and there would be at least this much, probably more. I expected a fish. But so it was, that was the hardest part. And one of the things that I'd taken a little bit of ballet, which made me very glad because that wardrobe would have killed my knees. That took a few more years, but I think that took a couple years off my knees, that wardrobe. Eye patch. Those of you who, put your hand over one of your eyes. I don't care which one. You will have, you guys know how to find out which is your dominant eye?
No.
Ah, well, this is important. Anybody shoot? Anybody like to shoot? Doesn't matter. I'm from America. We have enough guns for you and everyone. Well, if you come to the ranch, well, we have an on-site gun range. We have a knife and tomahawk range. We have an archery range. We have all the toys, swords from around the world, and flexible weapons like whips and stuff. But anyway, if you hold a finger up, come on, hold a finger up. Do it. Good. Now look past that finger at an object. Could be me, could be him, could be the microphone, doesn't really matter. Just find a spot. Okay, close one of your eyes. If the finger stays on that spot, okay, that's your dominant eye. If the finger moves one way or the other one's your dominant eye. Well, but if you, we have two eyes, which gives us depth of perception. If you cover one eye, you have no depth of perception. So you'll knock things over, you'll knock into things. I go, okay, I trained Dolph. Dolph is very strong, very athletic, very skilled, but he has a sword that's this long, and he's going to be coming at me. I need to be able to see. So I said, please drill tiny pinholes in this eye patch, and I'll be able to see through that, and that gives me depth perception. So that was part of that. I was lucky because the Beastman and Card both had contact lenses on, and they were that was back in the day when they were very hard, and they could only wear the lenses for 30 minutes, or they were scratched their corneas. That happened. For both of them, I believe. I remember they were taking a plaster cast so that they would have something to work on, my headpiece with the knives and this, and very famous makeup artist, Greg Canham. He won an award for, what was the thing with, the Amazing Mr. Buttons, or the Incredible Mr. Buttons, or that was a Curious Case of Benjamin Button and Brad Pitt. He did the makeup for that. He also did the makeup for Sword the Sorcerer.
No.
you know, with Zusha. That was cool. Anyway, he gave me two. It was like he had taken a ping pong ball and cut it in half and put it over my eyeball so that he could put plaster over my face. That was, again, they have methods now that are much quicker. I'm old. It was back in the 80s, so we did that. So those are some of the things that you face while you're trying to, you know, perform and pretend that, ha, this weighs nothing.
So you just took a look at this one.
This is in German.
Yeah, actually. But you learned a lot of German. In the last few German.
Maybe.
Yeah. Let's see. Well, you took a look at this. What's it like when you see yourself as action figures?
It's kind of cool. I was very disappointed in the original action figure. I kind of went, hey, everybody else looks the same from here down, you know. And I kind of went, okay, this looks enough not like me that I'm not going to get any money. And sure enough, I never did. But I think it was a year or two, year and a half ago, 2 years ago, when they come out with the classic. We have a new one now. And John Atkins had approached me. He said, can you help with this? So I did a quick little video. I don't know if you guys saw it or not, but I just said, hi, this is Blade. I'm hiding out here up in Rancho Mandalo, you know, in disguise as a sword master. Don't let this be my legacy, you know, write him, tell him you want the classic edition. So I quite like the new one. It looks a lot more like my character. And me, I still don't get any money, but, you know. But I think you guys enjoy it more.
It's an awesome figure. It's great.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. You know, the first one kind of stood there. Of course, now I'm bow-legged, but I earned it. But he had things that kept falling out of his hands, and he didn't really stand up very straight. There was a whole lot of this all the time. So I like the new figure a lot. So any of you guys who have one, I'm very happy to sign it for you. If you don't have one, but you shave your head, I'll sign that too.
Oh, there's a name.
I have a couple of takers. He wasn't listening. You can explain it to him later.
You were just saying, we come back to something you just said. You said that Blade figure has a lot of you in the figure.
My blood, my sweat, my Sturm, my Drang. How's that? German.
Oh, I said you learned a lot.
Ich weiß es nicht. Yeah. Okay. What was anyway, there was some phrase that had stuck in my head back. There was a very pretty German girl, Elfriede Bay. I still remember. I was about in 7th grade, and there was a German class. So I took a German class for a semester just because I liked looking at her. I didn't remember anything. You know, I can count to 10. You know, and a couple of phrases, but and sadly, nothing ever happened between Elfriede and I.
So, say we take a few questions from the audience.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then afterwards we have a short break. We're going to have the next panel, and we have a photo box upstairs. And Anthony will be there from 10:30 at least to 11:30, or until you're sick of it and leave.
Oh, look at the time.
Look at the time.
Which could be
But,
way later.
I think we have a few questions, maybe one or two if you have something to say. You can also ask in German what he does not understand, maybe we can translate.
Okay, and vice versa.
Wolltest
Also,
du das in Deutsch sagen?
I believe I've certainly offered, because when I come, I love to meet you guys, you know, and hear about, you know, what it is you like about my work, and you know, and teach me some things about this that I didn't know, and just get a chance to interact. And like I said, I'm happy to sign, you know, whatever you like. But I also like to come and demonstrate. My wife and I will demonstrate with some weapons and things. And I'd offered to do like a little workshop, you know, about fighting with film and things to think about. So I'm hoping you guys will want to You know, life's not a spectator sport, so come and participate. That'd be very cool.
Also wir nehmen ein paar Fragen an, ihr könnt auch gerne auf Deutsch fragen, wir übersetzen das dann und wir fangen hier vorne an.
Hi, Anthony.
What he said. Yes. Hello.
I gotta admit, I'm a huge Trekkie, and I want to hear about
Say it.
being on Voyager. What is
Say
it?
it.
Yes, Maj.
Yes, Maj. My two favorite words in Star Trek, yes. We're talking about, I guest starred on Star Trek Voyager for 5 episodes. And I played a character called Maj Kala. I had, have you ever, Las Vegas Showgirls? You know, they have big headpieces. Well, that was about how big my headpiece was. And I was 3.5 hours into makeup every day and an hour out. And I was wearing makeup that wasn't supposed to last more than about 8 hours. Sometimes we would have 14-hour days. And the makeup guy would come along with a sharp object and he would poke the mask to let the sweat that is built up inside, and it would sort of ooze out, you know, and we get another hour or 2 out of the makeup, so that was fun. But I asked him, I said, so is this organic or is this, you know, tribal? You know, he said, oh, no, it's organic. Not like they knew. But the funny thing was, in the last 2 episodes, I got to take over Voyager and strand the crew. Got to smack Kate Mulgrew, which apparently there was a lot of people who wanted to do that. No, she was a very nice lady, and she's a terrific actress. Did you ever see Remo Williams? I liked her in that very much. But so I got to strand Voyager, and then we got to get it back, and we're shooting out in Vasquez Rocks. Vasquez Rocks, very famous. It's where Kirk battled the Gorn in the first of the episodes, and I filmed a lot of different projects out there. It's Planet Vulcan, and it's 2 hills over from where we live. So if any of you come to train at the ranch, we can take you over to Vasquez Rocks. You can scamper around and, you know, cosplay Voyager if you're. We've had guests who like that. They said, you betcha, we're not judging. You know. So anyway, that was a lot of fun, and that was. Oh, but when I would have to go through a doorway, I'd come walking up to the doorway, and I'd surreptitiously bend my knees, and I'd get through the doorway, and then I'd get taller again, because I'd go. Yes. What's your question? You brought back some nice memories.
Yes, you answered that perfectly.
Oh, okay. Yes, Mom. All right.
Ich stelle das mal auf Deutsch, du kannst das ja gerne übersetzen, ich glaube besser. Beastman hatte ja nun eigentlich die Peitsche in Masters of the Universe, ob er das vielleicht weiß, ob es Pläne gab, Beastman die Peitsche zu geben, ob da vielleicht irgendwas war, dass er diesen Schauspieler vielleicht auch ein bisschen Peitschentraining beigebracht hat, oder vielleicht gibt es ja irgendwelche Hintergrundgeschichten, warum er das nun die Elektronenpeitsche.
The Peitsche, where is she? Lovely tall Valkyrie. So the Peitsche is German for whip.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I did not know.
And actually the question is that
Beastman has a whip.
Beastman had the whip, and in the movie you had the whip. We know that there were actually plans to have.
You said
Beastman.
that if I drank, I would understand German. I didn't know. It wasn't until after the fact that I saw some of the toys. I went to a PowerCon and went, holy crap! Look at all these toys. And I saw that Beastman had a whip, and I went, I had nothing to do with that. They had 2 swords. I was played the double swordsman, and I said it just so happens I can use this hand and I can use this hand and I can use them both. So that was pretty cool. And then they said, okay, we're going to have you use a whip, and they gave me like a chair leg, and it says we're gonna, you move around and we're going to animate this. And, the animation holds up remarkably well. I got to see the film again a couple of years ago, and I went, this is really pretty cool. But at the time, I said it bothered me that I wasn't going to be able to do it practically. And I said, well, let me show you what a whip really works like. Do you want to translate any of that?
Yeah.
Are you catching what I'm saying?
Verpasst.
Hell no. I just said, let me show you what the whip looks like. So they did. They filmed me, and then the animators, went away, and then they created the laser whip. But much of when we do our demonstration, you will see much of the figures that are on the screen, because that's how I use a whip. I don't do it like most people. We're okay for a minute.
She sings more German.
But most people are about making the noise. Whip is the first. I'll tell you all this when we do the demo. But the whip is the first man-made tool to break the sound barrier. It dates to 3000 BC in both the Chinese and Egyptian cultures that we know of. It's 5,000 years old. The tip of the whip, any idea how fast it goes? 768 miles per hour. The speed of sound is 1086 miles per hour at sea level. Let me put it to you another way. A 45 caliber bullet is subsonic. It goes 900 feet per second and change. A whip will do up to 1400 feet per second. So it cuts you with its velocity. Okay. Most people are about making the noise, and the whip ends up behind them. Well, to me, the whip is a flexible blade. It's a supersonic flexible blade. Your sword doesn't do you any good behind you. The whole reason to have a sword is, you want me? You got to come through this. It gives you distance and range, unless it's behind you. So I developed to where most people yank and crank and use their shoulders. I use my whole body to energize the whip. So if all the parts contribute just a little, no one part has to do more than its share. It's very much martial arts. It's very much Tai Chi. And my system, instead of slashing, mine rolls and stabs. So you'll see it's distinctive of my style. It's the Longis rolling loop. That's one of the things I'm proudest of. I created this. So when I do this, it will roll and it'll reach out and stab. And my point of impact's about this big. If you go on my website, delongis.com, you'll see Swordmaster, Whipmaster, Horse Skills, Fights. As a matter of fact, I have a DVD, which we will. Do we have another panel that we ever do, or maybe in the demo before the demo? We can play it sometime.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of fun, and I like it a lot. I'm very proud. But it's prettier. It's more aesthetic. It's more efficient. It's more effective. It's minimal in energy and maximum in return, which is the martial arts ideal: maximum return for minimum effort. And it's also safer, because you'll see when I'll take targets out of my wife's hand and out of her mouth, and I'll wrap her body from different directions. It's foreplay. But it's the secret of our long-lasting marriage. But I'll also hold targets for her, because
So whoever did not get this, take a look who just laughed and then ask afterwards.
So I hold targets for her. She's that good. She's that good. Otherwise, I wouldn't hold targets for her.
Any more questions? There we go.
How was the atmosphere on the Master of the Universe movie? I mean, how was it on the set? And you are still in contact with Frank or Dolph or so?
Yes and no. The atmosphere on set was wonderful. As I said, there was a lot of very talented people on both sides of the camera. The performers, I had a lot of respect for their work. They were a lot of fun. When you work with somebody, you work off of them. You often hear that acting is listening. Acting is reacting. It's kind of like what we're doing right now. I'm talking, you're listening. You're talking, I was listening. It makes all the difference. A lot of science fiction stuff is done with green screen, and I often I should put this. I catch people when they're not doing it very well, because you don't really have somebody. You're playing something that's not there, and sometimes they will put a tennis ball on a bit of a C-stand or a stick and say, okay, that's a dragon. you know, or that's a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Ooh, it's not the same as when you actually, coming from a theater background, I really appreciate this. And so one of the things that I've always, the actors that I value the most do this. And I've always done this, that when it's your turn, okay, when you're starting out especially though, you know there's the star, and they get their stuff, and you're off camera, and you're feeding them. And they usually appreciate a little something, you know, something of a performance. Don't give your best performance there though, because when the camera turns around, one of the first jobs I ever did, you guys familiar with the series Gunsmoke? It was the longest running television series for a lot of years, around like about 25 years. And there was a character on there was Marshall Dillon, you know, there was Mr. Dillon, and then there was Kitty, you know, his longtime love that he could never quite commit to, I guess. I don't know. I don't question, but she was Miss Kitty. Well, in this show was called, wow, this is going back. This show was called The Quest, and it was with Kurt Russell and Tim Matheson. Tim Matheson, who later played the Romeo to my Tybalt when we worked at the old Globe Theater, Small World. But it was called The Quest, and in this episode we hung Miss Kitty. Well, I got the part of, you know, kind of a nice little supporting part, and we were hanging Miss Kitty, and you know they're doing the master shot, and I'm crying, and they do, you know, the coverage shot, and I'm crying, and we're doing her close-ups, and I'm crying. And they finally turned the camera around to me. It was the Sahara Desert. I didn't have another tear in me. And I learned, oh, you know, it's important for me to give something, but save a little something for when it's my turn for my close-up. And the director was, he was a terrific guy. He brought me in again the next day, and he found a little patch of dirt over on Burbank Studios, and he put a cowboy on either side of me, and he sat up on a ladder, and he says, okay, I'm Miss Kitty, you know, and I'm hanging there. And he gave me another shot. That's very, very rare. So I got my tears. But the point of all this is, when you work with good actors and they have their turn, when it's your turn, they're still there. They will stand there and you know, they will position themselves so your eye line is correct. So you get to play with somebody as opposed to staring into a camera lens, which a lot of people kind of liken to looking down the barrel of a gun. You know, or it kind of makes you go like this, and that's why I admire actors who are able to. I worked with Tully Savalas a very long time ago, and he used to, you know, very often television is all about you're in a hurry, you never have enough time. So there are times that the actor's already gone, or they're not there, or well, we're going to turn this around, and you know, and you look and you go, okay, what's my eye line? You know, there, okay, and you play the whole thing to something that's not there. Well, green screens, that's what it's all about. So it's hard to do. So that standpoint, the atmosphere is great. In terms of do I get to keep in touch with any of those people? No. And that's one of the sad parts about doing film and television is you meet people very often. You know, you have a wonderful time with them, and then you may never see them again, or you may not see them for years. I haven't seen Frank since the movie, until we watched the DVD the other night at your house. I went, Frank! You know, I followed his career. I mean, he's a terrific actor. I did see Meg Foster a couple of times since then at these events. I saw her at PowerCon twice. The first time they didn't have any room for us. We're going to do a demonstration anyway. So we were in the vendors area, and we had about as much space as you have right here. And I think it was a feather. I said, Meg, hold this in your hand and don't move. She said, okay. And so then I took the feather out of her hand, and then I wrapped her around the neck with the whip, and we both had a good laugh, and the con people who were organizing it were appalled because they went, no, we can't do that here. I went, well, maybe you can't, but I can. Then I saw her again. We actually had a chance after we kind of done the convention all day. Gary Goddard had come in to do the screening, and Meg was there, and Val was there. Actually, Val kind of brought the whiskey. I said, you know, it'd really be nice if at the end of the day, if we could all kind of sit and, you know, just have a little drink and tell some stories. And he told some stories that I didn't know that were going on, and it was fun. So you should all get yourself a wee glass of whiskey, and then we'll tell stories.
I was just thinking about 2 questions to wrap it up. Number 1, actually, you were saying that Dolph had this long sword, and you were saying anything, and we saw when you think in this on the DVD, we see you got this antlers and had this everything. Did you ever get hurt on set, or did you hurt somebody by accident?
No. No, Dolph and I took very good care of each other.
Okay.
But yeah, it was difficult. I had the frustration, you know, I was working with Dolph, and I was playing a great character. And then I also had the opportunity to train Dolph because, you know, I mean, he's a champion kickboxer and, you know, very skilled, very athletic. But he didn't really know anything about swords, so I gave him a foundation. And we trained for about a month, and then I didn't see him for a month. I mean, I didn't see him because he was busy shooting other stuff. And I kept saying to the coordinator, when can I see the location so I can come up with some choreography and ideas for you that you're going to like get going? Jesus, you know, stop bugging. Well, he's a cowboy. You know, we're going to be down there, you know, we're going to be down there for a month, you know. There'll be lots of time. Well, our first day on that location, what do you think we shot? And what do you think was the first thing we shot? The fight. So I had maybe 45 minutes, you know, and I said, remember the stuff that I hooked over here? Okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, and this, and then we were supposed to kill these boxes. Can you hit these boxes with a sword? Yeah, I can. That's not really the story I wanted to tell, but sure, we can kill some boxes. And then he's going to pick up Lizard Man, and he's going to throw him in, and I'm going, oh great, so I'm going to catch him in my 50 feet of pipe, you know, and the guy in his, you know, Pons Mars, a terrific actor. But, you know, he was no pixie game.
Meanwhile, at Grayskull.
And then he's in all his wardrobe, so he's a couple hundred pounds. But, you know, and I'm catching him, and I go, I think Dolph actually stripped his back a little doing that too, when we're going to concrete. So anyway, we didn't have enough time to do what I wanted to do. And then I said, okay, well, you're going to double Skeletor, because I didn't know until I saw the DVD that Frank was anxious to you know, put together this wonderful big fight. Well, apparently at that point we'd run out of money. So they essentially scrapped that, but Gary still wanted to try to have something. So, you know, I put together a power staff versus, you know, the sword. I called it Buick Slayer because it was really huge and not very well balanced. You know, the people, the company's called Boss, they hadn't made a lot of swords before. You know, so there's something that looks really great, but it is literally a beast, you know, and part of the things that I was teaching Dolph was that the heavier the sword, the more you have to let it balance, you know, otherwise it'll wear you out, and you'll lose control. Well, he did a great job with it. But, so he's got this, and I said, so, I'm going to be in the Skeletor wardrobe, right? So I have stuff that's going around the head, and, you know, and because it's a staff, so you've got this end, and you've got this end, and you've got, you know, forehand and backhand things in both front and rear. And there's a lot of potential to it. So I put that together, and about an hour before we were going to shoot, oh, no, this is after the transformation. You know, and I went, so I've got elk antlers and the New York skyline on my head. And there was no going around my head at all. So we had to throw together what we could throw together in that small amount of time. And that, the only thing I ever lament about the work is the opportunities we could have had if we'd had a little more time. And then I hear about something, oh yeah, we had 3 months to shoot that fight scene. Oh yeah, well yeah. We took 6 weeks to shoot that. Second question.
Yes.
Fight.
second question to wrap it up, to leave you the words to end it all. I asked you the question before. I think it was 2 nights ago. Do not. Yeah, at least.
Don't be so literal. All right. I will end it
No,
up.
I asked you.
Yes.
I asked the question 2 nights before, and I really like your answer. Are you sometimes thinking about switching places with Dolph or somebody else you work with?
You're
just that you're thinking about, oh, why him, not me?
Okay, good. He didn't ask me if I ever wanted to be a rapper and be Tony D or whatever it was you said.
I said it.
He said I'd smack you. Well, you surprised me when you asked me that question the other day. And no, I tremendously admire what Dolph has achieved, you know, and I never have any animosity towards somebody else. Well, it's one of the things that makes me feel pretty good about myself. I feel confident enough in what I have achieved, and do achieve, that I can celebrate what other people do. You know, that I can celebrate that, oh, they're a lot better at that than I am. But then I'm a lot better than they are at this, so it balances out. Anyway, the idea is, the only thing I envy in the positive sense of the word is opportunities that Dolph has had, and that he has done wonderful things with. You know, and it's a whole lot of fun to see his huge resurgence in the not the Unmentionables, not the Expendables. That's it. Because I knew it wasn't a replacement. But yeah, it's become something of a cottage, and it was kind of fun because in his first one he wasn't likable at all. And then they brought him back, and he's part of the team again, and it's a nice character arc.
You know that his name in this movie is Gunnar?
Oh, I didn't know. Hey, how did you manage to remember that? Okay.
He started as He-Man and ended as Gunnar. That's a good.
That's a good episode.
Okay. Well, it's not over yet. But, no, it's you often hear about kind of go, oh, what does fame get you? You know, what does an Oscar get you? Or well, the positive thing it gets you is opportunity. And what all actors want is the opportunity to work, because the opportunity affords you challenge. To test yourself and to grow and to rise to the occasion, and to do something that, both terrifies and inspires you. That's the fun part of the work. So I think one of the hardest things in the business is most people don't get any opportunities, or very few. Or you get a few opportunities, but they don't really lead to the other opportunities you kind of hope they would. And then you have to find something positive to do. I've had that frustration a lot, so I kept learning new things, because I found that the more I knew, the more often I worked. So if you're not hiring this today, well, how about this? I can do this too, and so the more things you can do, the more often you can collect a check. And that's an important thing.
So like every good He-Man episode wraps up with a good moral, I think. Ladies and gentlemen.